Welcome to a Delco Nerd Network hot take. Guys, if you've never seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement, give our thoughts, give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a game, and that game is Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. That's right. There's no strangers or origins, no plurals. You know how many times I mispronounced this game's title? Anyway, here to discuss with me, a stranger to this podcast himself. But you may recognize him. He's been in the community for a little while now. André Vu-Phung. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Just getting some. I mean, I have this week off, but I still have to do things for uni. But I always got a little bit of time to play Stranger in Paradise.
Yeah, you're coming live all the way from Denmark. You're like 6 hours ahead of me. I appreciate you making time for me.
No problem, man. I mean, I don't really usually. I mean, it's not often I get an opportunity to actually engage in a verbal discussion about something in depth. So this is I've really been looking forward to this.
Yeah, especially something that I feel like you like more than I do, and I think that's like the more interesting part about this is I'm a Final Fantasy fan. You're a Koei Tecmo Neo fan. So we're coming at this from like two totally different perspectives. So I guess
exactly.
I guess that's a good place to start. Like, as a Neo fan, not like what did you like, but like when you first saw this game, were you like instantly in just because it's a Koei Tecmo game and you love Neo and you love that gameplay?
I have to make a small correction. It is true that Koei Tecmo, it's actually Team Ninja that developed it, but they are a subsidiary of
Oh yeah. No, see, you got me.
I totally get
Team Ninja.
It's when was the first reveal trailer? Was it the
last E3, I think, because it leaked and everyone was like, "What is this title?" Like everyone, I remember there was a lot of hubbub about it. Like the title leaked, and I think like the logo, and everyone's like, "Oh, I guess we're getting like a Final Fantasy 1 remake or something." And then they revealed this, and everyone was like, "Chaos."
I remember that.
I think it was E3.
When I there's something about the way Team Ninja does games, which I've actually thought about. I mean, my top 3 action games are all Team Ninja games, which is kind of funny. And they actually play the 3 games. I don't know if I should list them. I mean, Neo 2, I think Ninja Gaiden 2, and now Stranger of Paradise. And they play vastly differently, yet at the same time have a lot of very weird similarities, actually, which I think when I first saw that reveal, I was like, yep, I need this game. I just saw the very first, I saw him running, like that footage where he was running up the stairs in the reveal trailer. It's like the first gameplay. I was like, yep, I need this game.
I was like on the exact opposite end of the fence, and I was like, what the fuck is this? The chaos meme came out of that, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, this looks so generic. And I have to admit, the game actually looks, and obviously can't play better, you're not playing it, but the final product looks a lot better than that initial teaser trailer, in my opinion. The vibe is still there, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I watched the trailer again today, I think. It definitely looks way more washed out, almost slower, too, actually, in the gameplay, but it looks very dry, even more so than in the final product.
Yeah, and I mean, this game just, I think it's a good thing it went in on the memes. Like, it's just kind of like, I don't want to say it's a joke, but they just, it's hard to even describe. Like, they wrote it almost ridiculously enough that the player would find it as ridiculous as it's written, but it takes itself seriously all at the same time.
Oh yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, it just, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's the fact that I just had to describe that, it was like a stumper in and of itself.
Yeah, it's quite a risky move because with something like that, you can interpret it as just being plainly bad,
right?
Which I've seen people say. It was definitely risky, but I think for someone like me, at least, I mean, I can laugh at it, but at the same time, I think in the bigger picture, it has a really specific effect that makes it work really well, even from a serious standpoint. Somehow, I mean, I'm not a story writer or anything like that, so I wouldn't really know the ins and outs of that terminology or whatever. But I really think there's some kind of weird good. Yeah, like
So it was a good way to put it. Some kind of weird.
Yeah, it is really bizarre. It's really bizarre.
It's really
this game.
Strange.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to follow that up, but no.
So you said it earlier, but I do want to bring it up. Stranger in Paradise is one of your favorite games of all time. You said it and you kind of like glossed over it.
I mean, that's top 3 action games. Action
games. Okay.
But I also think top 10 just in general, which I mean, I'm probably really biased, but
yeah, but like I think that's fine. Like just like anyone who plays Elden Ring is going to be biased. Like, you know, unless you've never played a Dark Souls game. It's just like any other series. Like, you know, you're going into something. I don't play Team Ninja games. I've never played Neo, but I know for a fact I'm like, Andre is a Neo fan. He loves that fucking game. I've never seen somebody like this game as much as he does. But I've heard relatively good things, so it's not like a total like, he's like, you know, it's bullshit.
He's out there, man.
Right. But with this for me, it's like did I like this game? That's a tough question. I did, but like I didn't at the same time. Like I was kind of just like, I just want to like finish this up at this point. Like the combat's really fun. This gameplay is king here. The narrative is, even if you're a Final Fantasy fan or not, like I don't think you should be coming into this game and be like, you know what, man, I'm ready for a riveting narrative with some good writing, because this game does not have any of that. The gameplay though, is fucking awesome. It is. But like the gameplay is awesome, but like I don't really like the environments. I don't really like the monsters. Like there's not enough. They're very Final Fantasy 1 specifically. Like I can see the influence. It's like, oh, okay, like, well, and for context, Final Fantasy 1 is like stereotypical skeletons, giants, like nothing like even the cactars and the tonberries, which I don't know if you know, they're like Final Fantasy staple enemies. They don't really come into play until the later games. So in the original Final Fantasy 1, they're not there. They're just like really like stereotypical like wolves and like a bear, or the Sahagins are in the first one as well. And BK is also in the original game as well. He's a boss, so that kind of, that follows through. But like you're not a Final Fantasy fan. You've never played Final Fantasy 1. There really isn't a lot of Final Fantasy 1 here besides what I just said and certain points in the end. So like if you're coming into this being like, oh, like it's gonna be like a trip down memory lane. Final Fantasy 1 is not that Final Fantasy. Like you're gonna more have those thoughts about like 10 or 7 or 8 or 9, like not the first one. The first one is not the critically acclaimed darling of the series, right? But then again, like I'm in the combat, I'm having fun with it, but I don't really know how it is in Neo or Neo 1 or 2 or, any of their other games. So what do they take? What is Team Ninja taking from their older games and bringing into this one? And what are they doing new? And how is it good or bad? What do you think?
Nothing from Neo is in this game.
Okay.
It's total. I mean, I guess I was kind of shocked. I mean, okay, there's certain elements like the Souls-like element, if you can call it that.
Sure, the light.
With how you move around, lock on, whatever.
Yeah. That's the last time we're referencing Dark Souls.
yeah. I just had it to get it out there.
Right,
now it's there.
It is a Souls game, Souls-like.
But other than that, it's completely different from anything in Neo. I will say though, in relation to you gave some critique just now, like a lack of enemies and weird environments. It's a really big shame because going from Neo 1 to Neo 2 is like night and day. It is such a huge leap in quality with the environments and the variety. In Neo 1, a lot of the environments were, I wouldn't say maze-like in design, but maze-like in like aesthetics.
Okay.
Like there was this one level that's a big castle, but really all it was just a bunch of square corridors. It was really boring. In Neo 2, they really opened up with a lot more new environments, forests and weathers and a lot of things. It's really crazy. But now it seems with Stranger Paradise, it's really a big shame. It feels like they've gone back to what they did in Neo 1,
And
which is
okay. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt.
No. It's just like
It's meh.
like
It's meh.
it's and it's not meh. I mean, I think Stranger Paradise is better than Neo 1.
Okay, that's an interesting opinion.
Or at the very least, more fun.
So to give context to some of its environments, so you know how like in the loading screens, like I don't know if you read any of that, but it talks about dimensions, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember the level. There's one level where you're in like a lush forest and you're switching between rain cycle and sun cycles. That map is from Final Fantasy 13. It's called Sunleaf Waterscape. So it's from Dimension 13. And every map is pretty much like that. There's one from Final Fantasy 10 specifically. The Terra, the one that's like, looks like it's supposed to be like Earth Turtle or something like that. Like Terra Torta or something like that. That's from Final Fantasy.
Terra Tortura?
Yeah.
I think. Not tortoise, I think torture.
There you go. Turtle in Spanish is tortuga. I know that for a fact. But that's what, as soon as I saw it, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. Turtles. But that is from Final Fantasy 6. So they're taking environments from other Final Fantasy games, not even necessarily 1. Cornelia is the first city in Final Fantasy 1. That's ripped right from that. And I'm not sure if you encounter BK in Pravasta in FF1. That probably is Final Fantasy 1 still, but like that's it. That's all the Final Fantasy 1 areas in this game. Like it. Oh, and the Chaos Shrine. The Chaos Shrine is, you first go there in Final Fantasy 1. Garland is the first boss in Final Fantasy 1. So you kill him immediately. I'll once we talk about the end, I'll explain exactly what Garland is. But Garland is, did you know that Garland was the main villain of Final Fantasy 1? Did you know that?
I mean, I've watched the video on Final Fantasy 1. I don't remember the exact details. I don't think he gave the exact details either, but yeah, I don't know. It's very foggy.
And you didn't know about Jack either, or did you?
No.
Okay.
No,
so
I did not.
I knew from the beginning, I'm like, this is Jack Garland. He becomes Garland. Like, I knew that instantly. And they talk about it in the trailers. Like, they're not trying to hide it, which is fine. But I was like, like, something's going to happen to him. Like, he's going to, like, he's all obsessed with killing Chaos, but he himself will become Chaos at some point. So, you know, I'm just waiting to see that. So that was, like, kind of interesting. And that's kind of why I wanted to get to the end. I'm like, you know, him and his dialogue of like, you know, I don't give a fuck who you are. Like interrupting bosses with like the most ridiculous things. But like the game just double downs on it and it kind of works. Like it really understands that Jack doesn't care about what anyone is saying to him. He just wants to kill Chaos.
I saw a funny comment. I think one of my favorite comments about this game is it was on a video about moments with Jack, and someone commented, someone commented, "Finally, a Final Fantasy protagonist for normal people."
because he is a normal person. Yeah.
I guess just a normal ass dude.
Yeah, a normal like rage-inducing guy, for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, you wanted to. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, Jack. Yeah, the ending. I guess this is not a spoiler-free review.
Nah, no, I don't. I see. Like, here's the thing. Like, I don't think like you're watching this and being like, oh man, fucking, I gotta watch out for those Strangers in Paradise spoilers. Because really, the last hour and a half are really anything spoilery. But the game kind of like, it like does a lot of time travel stuff, which is interesting. I think the stuff with Lufenia, like, it's interesting. And Astos, I was like, oh, like this is a kind of a cool character, but like, I don't care other than the moment I'm being told that stuff. And other than that, I'm like, I'm not like going to bed being like, wow, great character.
Yeah, I guess that's a Team Ninja thing. Neo 1 and 2 are also like that.
Really?
They're like trying to build up a story, but then in between like those really short cutscenes, there's just like an hour and a half of dying and killing things.
Right, and then you get to the cutscene, and yeah, something happens, and then is that mission screen the same way too? Are you just being like pulled out of areas and selecting a mission and going in?
Yeah, I guess that's very much like Neo 1 and 2. And the loot system as well. I don't know if we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, go for it. I was actually going to segue over into to be like, so what did you since the combat you said wasn't like Neo 1 isn't like really Neo all that much. What is it about the combat that you enjoyed, and like talking about like the classes and stuff and the loot? Go for it.
Okay, let me see. I'm kidding. I mean, I don't want to make this too technical. But how do I see? This is what I've been a bit worried about, because, like I've said, this is one of my favorite action games of all time, and I have to watch out to not just making it me gushing about whatever aspects are in this game, but actually try and be a bit objective and actually make sense about in what I'm saying. I will say though, actually, one thing that I really admired with this game is there's actually a lot of, I didn't expect it at all, but I was kind of blown away. I'm not blown away, but I was surprised by it. There's a lot of environmental interaction in this game, if you noticed.
Yeah. There's a lot of like, especially towards the end, I felt like there was a lot of like barrel-y stuff that you could hit and blow up, and shortcut stuff, and you're interacting with the environment, and same with like we brought up the changing like the weather and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was more thinking about just in the combat actually. Something that I'm always an advocate for is in action games that walls matter. Like if you knock an enemy into a wall, I want it to matter.
Like it flattens against the wall. Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah.
So because the thing is like doing knockback moves, you can actually, like, depending on the environment, you begin to strategize, move around different ways, line an enemy up against a wall, knock them into the wall to deal extra break damage. It's like that constant, like, thinking on your toes kind of thing that it enforces that I really like. That's just one of the things. There's also, I mean, that the wall thing is a big part, but something I also noticed is, did you remember in the Crystal Tower, those like bodies of water you can walk in? Those like pools.
No.
Okay, there's some like pools of water just scattered about, and at first I thought it was like a weird aesthetical decoration choice that didn't really mean anything. But then I took my lightning imbued weapon, so basically and then if you attack in the water, it does like a small lightning explosion.
Yeah,
and there's like a lot of that environmental, like just small things here and there that you can use to your advantage.
I don't know if we're talking about the same map, but there's one that's based off Reactor. Is it Reactor 7 in Final Fantasy 7? It's a reactor. You're in a reactor, and there's pools of water there. That's where I noticed them a lot, because literally there's like a trap right next to it, and it's like, oh, hit that, you'll kill them all. And you pretty much do. Like it telegraphs it pretty well, but I don't think I noticed it beyond that map. Maybe I did, and I just totally forgot. But
okay, I mean, I did notice it by accident. Actually, I was just randomly swinging at things in an enemy. An enemy was in the water, and I was swinging at it, and I just noticed that they died like super quickly.
Yeah,
and then I realized there's actually a lot of environmental interaction. There's also like chandeliers you can knock down, knock them into pillars. The pillar breaks, and it's freaking satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, the carnage of the what's it called? When you break the bar and you hit circle. It has a name.
Oh yeah,
Soul something?
yeah. Soul burst. Yeah.
Soul burst, that's it. Yeah, when you do that, like those are really satisfying. Like going in there, breaking a bar like almost immediately and then hitting circle and like fucking everyone up and then you do it again to the next guy and again. Like that is really satisfying, but I feel like playing on hard kind of takes that fun out a little bit. We were talking. I played hard like halfway through the game and I just got to the point where I'm like, fuck this. Some of these bosses are so poorly balanced. Some of the enemies
oh my God,
are like, and I'm just like, this is not worth it. This is not worth my time. And I'm if there's an achievement, I'm playing hard and I'm not turning it off, you know, you're right. But there really isn't a difficulty achievement for this. And I just went straight to story. I'm like, I have absolutely no patience for this. There is one boss and it was the elemental core in that Rain Sun one that we were talking about. That boss I was stuck on for so long. And I'm just like, this, like, I can't get in there to get a hit because I just instantly die. like there's the AI is not terrible, but only so helpful. You know, they go in there and they're like bursting, and then they back off, and they're just like, what now? What now?
Oh my God, so many times I've like Jack is like on his knees, like freaking praying to something to help him, and then you just see Jet just like circling around an enemy right in front of you.
Yeah. Did you play any multiplayer?
No.
Okay.
No.
I occasionally turned on my game to have people jump in. It's jump in, jump out. It's is it going to add to your experience? Maybe if you're playing with two other friends, I think it'd be fun, but the random multiplayer is just like, yeah, it is what it is. Take it or leave it.
Actually, you mentioned the bosses. I guess we can talk about them.
Yeah. If you had another point, feel free to bring it up. But you know,
yeah, this actually goes back to what I was saying with this game, kind of going back to Neo 1, which is a huge shame because Neo 2 is such a step up in quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of bosses in this game. I mean, okay, I somehow had the patience to play through it all on hard, but a lot of these bosses are
fucking bless you. But like you also, I feel like when you said that, I'm like, well, he knows, like maybe experience from Neo is helping him be better at the combat than I was, because it's deep. That combat can be, I think, if you really understand how to play that game, you can be really good.
I suppose so. I mean,
right?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Good.
It seems very build dependent though, because which is a shame, but you can't prevent that. I suppose.
Yeah, what were you saying on the bosses?
Yeah, I was just gonna say a lot of the bosses are not well designed.
And that's a shame because I feel like this game is so boss focused. You know, you do a level, fight a boss. Do a level, fight a boss. Do a level, fight a boss. And they're all Final Fantasy 1 bosses. Lich, Marlith. Actually, the Elemental Core is not. Garland obviously is. A lot of those enemies are from Final Fantasy 1. So you recognize them.
Yeah, but the problem with a lot of bosses is just they have this weird problem where it's like you know exactly what kind of attacks they're gonna do because they have so few attacks, and yet at the same time they just keep hitting you. And
that's such a great way to put it.
Yeah, they're so consistently fast, and you're just like, let me just find an opening, man. Let me just beat this guy's ass. I dodged the attack. Let me just beat this guy's ass, and the game just does not give it to you.
No.
And yeah, a lot of bosses in Neo 1 are also like not that good. They're kind of repetitive as well, and just really just annoying. I mean, it's been a long time since I played a fresh playthrough in Neo 1, but
yeah,
I don't remember many of the bosses in Neo 1 being fun. And
that's not
the
good.
bosses. Yeah, and the boss. Wait, what'd you say?
I said that's not
I
really
didn't hear-
good.
No, that's not really good. Doesn't. Yeah, it's just,
Especially for
you
a
gotta,
game, again, focused around bosses, you know?
Yeah, a combat focused game. If you don't have a fun boss, then like that just sucks. And
Right.
Stranger in Paradise suffers from that. I don't know. The bosses are just really not fun most of the time. There were some good bosses.
Yeah,
But
like Marlith is great. I think Lich was fun. Garland was challenging for a first boss. Like I didn't feel like I'm like he's kicking my ass, but for some reason I'm like I got him. Like I know what I'm doing wrong here. But like Elemental Core, fuck that boss. The dragon boss was tough. I think it's Undead Dragon or whatever.
yeah,
I'm just like some of these bosses I just don't get it. Like why are some, and it's the easy bosses that I remember because I felt like they were mechanically better. Because I actually
pretty much,
I
yeah.
stood a chance, but then these other bosses are like two-shotting me and I'm just like, this is stupid.
Yeah, I'm on the same pace. Like, I think, I mean, yeah, I think one of my favorite bosses is actually you. I know what you. Well, you didn't speak very highly of Tiamat.
No, I did not. I fucking hated Tiamat.
Yeah, I
That
think
boss
Tiamat.
was ridiculous. I'm just like, I think the mechanics are fine, but you have to hit it so many times. Like
Right, yeah,
after you
okay.
break its first bar, it just regens a bunch, and I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah,
Like
it's.
I'm just losing because I can't live long enough to kill him.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
But
I guess there's no.
But you liked that boss?
Well, I guess it's just because it just boils down to the fact that you can. It actually seems like it has a pattern that you can properly learn, and you can actually
Yeah, it
punish
does.
Yeah, it's not like a boss that I really don't like is Elemental Core. Now that we're talking about the second phase, I'm just like it's just a blob that spins around and spits out stuff, and I'm just like,
And
what
you
the hell?
almost cannot get near it or you're dead. Like you just
Yeah.
it really doesn't have an opening for you to punish or like not expose. What am I looking for? Yeah, to have like, you know, it doesn't have a vulnerable state. Like it just keeps doing the same thing over and over again, and it's just like, okay, like when can I attack this thing? And it's like, oh, I just can't. Even on the lower
Yeah.
difficulties, it's the same thing. It's just like I will go in there and I will get fucked up. So I have to rely on my companions to do that for me.
Actually, that's something I you just reminded me of something that I think really helps elevate Neo as well. That change like a big difference between Neo bosses and bosses in Stranger in Paradise. You mentioned the whole like stagger state or like vulnerability state. I noticed that bosses do occasionally do that in Stranger in Paradise, but even then, like it's just for such a short amount of time that you can't really do anything anyway. They're like, "Ow," and then they go back to like hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
But in Neo, there was this system of they had this both demons and humans have a stamina gauge, although they work slightly differently. But I won't get into the details.
Mm-hmm.
But if you drain their stamina gauge, they're pretty much they can't do anything. Like you can just wail on them or punish them or whatever. And I think that like process of like reducing that stamina gauge like really helped spice up boss fights because it's not just about hitting them, you know? It was also managing that your stamina and their stamina, punishing them for like making mistakes. But in Stranger Paradise, that's not there.
That's not the
It's
case
just
at
hit
all.
them.
Yeah.
It just hit them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like another thing that's like there's a lot of just like I feel like flavorless stuff in this game. The bosses are definitely one of them. The loot is the other. And I think when you were playing on stream, I was talking about that. And I was just like, I wish I could care about what I was wearing, but I'm going to replace it in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, how can you care about what this gear looks like? And I guess got to the point, optimize. I can't be bothered, you know?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I totally get it. It's also in the Neo games. It's just kind of but
Really?
at least
Is it exactly the same?
there is so much loot, bro. Yeah.
Oh, that's so disappointing because I feel like in Neo, it could be so much cooler. I feel like I have a higher opinion of that game than I do Stranger of Paradise, but That's kind of sad to hear that the loot is like the exact same way. Because like even in the games like Borderlands, you get so overwhelmed by getting all this stuff, and it's like, oh, like, do I want to use it all, or like, is it just all trash?
I will say though, it was a bit less maybe totally annoying in Neo, because in Neo there's also like set bonuses, so you get very beneficial effects from wearing like the same armor and then matching weapons and whatnot. There are these affinity bonuses in Stranger of Paradise, but they feel way more random. You know, I mean, if you get
random.
Yeah, if you get a hero's coat, it could be either affinity for one job or affinity for another job. It's just kind of like, okay, it's hard to. I mean, I got this really nice setup where I got like all the bonuses for the Tyrant job, which I was really happy about. But then, like you said, next mission replaced.
Yeah, how did you like the jobs?
I mean, it gives a really good incentive to like keep playing and trying new things, and I did eventually. Yeah. I mean, if I didn't do that, I don't think I would have. Yeah, but also I wouldn't have found Tyrant, which ended up being my favorite job. It's just simple, you know, enchant your weapon and then exploit the weaknesses. There's a lot of different.
Is that advanced Tyrant?
No, that's an expert job.
Okay, because I was playing today and I was kind of looking through the jobs. And I'm leveling. I have to level up every job for an achievement. So I'm just kind of going in order, like leveling up every job. Also, like I want to use everything, see what I like and stuff. And and some jobs just like didn't speak to me, and others were just like, oh, this is good. Like the samurai jobs were really fun. I didn't really like the not the fist jobs, but like thief and trying to think what the other ones are. The ones with the dual wield daggers. They didn't feel too good to me.
Oh, you didn't like those? You did?
Yeah.
I was actually surprised. I mean, normally I stay away from dual blades because usually they're just too fast and they don't do enough damage, and I'm just pressing buttons at this point. It's not meaty enough, you know. Like I like single hits.
Yeah, that's not where I'm usually like sword and board, sword and shield, and that's kind of like warrior is usually a class that I stick to. So I don't really dual blades in anything. So it's not that it's unappealing to me, but it's definitely not what I usually like. And it's not like knight and warrior were like my go-tos either. The two-handed classes were my cup of tea, and the magic classes. I feel like having a mage build as the secondary, or not a mage build, but like a magic, whether it be offensive white mage or black mage or whatever the expert and advanced stuff are, like that's kind of key. Like you almost need that on those higher difficulties.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but it's kind of silly that like, not that the game doesn't tell you that, but it's almost like, yeah, I'm just gonna make my life easier. You know?
Yeah, it's that's something someone also came into my chat when I was streaming the game, and I kind of realized this guy has a good point. I'm not gonna do it because
what did he say?
He said pretty much Sage. Just go Sage. Like pop 3 spells in white mage and black mage and do Ultima.
Yeah, I'd be the same way. It's like I don't want to just do the OP stuff, especially as I'm playing through the game, right? You want to have like a natural experience, or the way you want to experience, and not just be going for the OP class and that's the end of that. You're not really playing the game at that point. I can understand the post game, which I was playing a little bit today, and I got into a lobby of people who are decimating things as like a 300 gear score characters, and I was just like, oh. I sat there and did nothing, because you unlock chaos difficulty when you beat the game, and I'm just like, I don't really know who has time for that. This is definitely like, I don't know how much longer you're going to be in the game, but I just found it to be like a one and done. I'll play a little post game, finish up my trophies, and probably move on. Do you think you're going to go back and play on chaos? What are your plans?
I'm already playing on chaos, baby.
How far along are you?
Well, the thing with chaos difficulty, it's kind of it's very interesting. This is both a really good thing about this game, and at the same time, a really big detriment. Okay. And relates to what you were saying about the loot. So I think the good thing is that chaos mode, you have to spend these new things called anima crystals. So normally you unlock anima shards, but now it's crystals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you use them to like unlock missions, but also like higher levels of those same missions. So you can so what it does is that you're technically always making progress. Because you could, in principle, just play the same mission over and over again, just increase the level.
Yeah, I noticed that when I started out. So, like, when, I think I forget what mission I did, but I was, like, looking at it, and I'm like, so if I unlock level 250, am I unlocking all the other levels, or am I just unlocking that one?
Oh, you're unlocking them all, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, my gear score is way higher than 150, which was the lowest, and I'm like, should I just do 150 or should I spend most of my crystals, which I don't have a ton at this point, so I didn't want to just like blow them. I didn't know what I was really doing, and I did it on the lowest one, and I was like, I played on I was on chaos difficulty, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty tough, even though I'm like double the gear score of this level. Like, this is pretty difficult.
Yeah, okay. Definitely. I actually noticed that enemy stats have definitely been increased. Like, normally, even on hard mode, if you use Death's Lament, is that how you pronounce it?
Lament.
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 Yeah. You can usually paralyze enemies using just one, but on chaos difficulty, you have to use two. Pretty interesting.
So are you finding it like challenging? Like, you're really gonna go through the whole game on chaos?
No, I mean, we've already spoken about it. Like, a lot of the bosses, not fun.
Right, you're gonna hit roadblocks. Yeah.
So you can technically just choose any mission. So I'm just gonna go through the missions that I do like.
Right, and that's a good thing. It's like, you can kind of, hey, you beat the game, but you can go back and just play, whatever order you want. I don't know if I was looking this up. I was looking up the trophies. So one of the trophies is to finish the game on chaos difficulty. It's bugged or it's mistranslated because you just have to do one level and you get it.
Yeah.
So somebody was like, in Japanese, the translation is like finish like a level on chaos, but the achievement literally says complete the game on chaos. And I did one level and I'm like, thank God. Now, if they patch it, I'm fucking good. Because I saw that and I was like gonna cry. I was like, oh no, there's some of those bosses. Just get someone in here who just like is gonna like power level me through this, I guess.
I was gonna say, with chaos, the game doesn't really keep track of what missions you've beaten on chaos. So I wasn't.
Oh, really?
I don't really know. Yeah,
you know what?
Yeah,
the game doesn't really keep track of that at all, does it? Difficulty.
No, it just says completed, and then it's like, okay.
Okay. I mean, that's fine for when I'm completing all the side missions. I never noticed that. I never thought about it. Interesting.
Yeah. I wanted to go back. I didn't completely finish. I was gonna say I also have a big problem with chaos difficulty as well. The whole thing, the fact that you're always making progress, always means that you can never really settle with a build.
Right.
Because
that's what I was going to ask.
Loot. Yeah, you always get new loot, like we spoke about earlier.
That's crazy. So there really isn't, like, there's a post game, but like you really can't ever settle. Like just. That's like.
You can do that in.
That
you
sucks.
can do that in Neo.
That sucks. Like, it just seems like what's the point if you're just never gonna stop? What's the point of eating if you just have to eat tomorrow? You know what I mean?
Okay, no, we're not gonna go into those. What are those, straw men? Maybe not straw men. I don't know, but those really whack comparisons,
bro. Like, who has time to eat?
No, but in Neo, you could settle. There are these Twilight missions that update daily. So you can just do those.
Did I miss that?
No, in Neo.
Oh, in Neo. Sorry.
Yeah, So even though you've beaten all the missions, even if you've beaten a Twilight mission, the reward is like fresh because if you've beaten a mission, you don't get the same reward as the first time you beat it.
Yeah.
But the Twilight missions refresh every day, so there is that incentive to do that in Neo. But you could like settle with a build.
Yeah, I find in a month or so, like, there's not a lot of people going to be playing this game. I don't really see the draw. There are 3 DLCs planned. I have no fucking idea what that means. Like, what? One, I hope it's not paid. It probably is. But what are they even going to add to this? Like, they told the story. I doubt it'll be story stuff. Maybe it'll be new maps and just, like, that's it? Does that interest you? Like, how, one, does that interest you? And two, like, how much longer do you think you're going to be playing? Or are you just going to be like, I know you play Neo 2 to this day. Are you just going to be like, yeah, I've had my time with it, I'm done? Or is this a game is it going to be like, like that food you come back to and you eat every once in a while and you're like, oh yeah, that's good.
Regarding the DLC, I can totally imagine them just doing some weird dungeon DLC, and it's just gonna be, oh man,
more of the same.
I don't even want to imagine the bosses in that. Elemental Core EX.
I hope they don't add trophies, because then that means I'll be like, oh, I gotta get it.
I gotta get it.
This is my life. I have to get it.
Trophies are not just a thing; they're a lifestyle.
Exactly.
Regarding how long I'll play this anymore, I don't know. I do want to do a second story playthrough just to get. I did that with both Neo games as well. Like I played a bunch and grinded high level gear and whatever, and then finally sat down and like, okay, I'm just gonna do one cohesive story mode playthrough. So now I like know what to expect, kind of. After that, I don't know. I mean, like I said, you always do progress in chaos mode, and I love the gameplay loop. I love it, and I'm not forced to do any of the bosses that I don't like because of the crystal system. But I don't know.
I think a game does.
I'm not sure.
I think a game does benefit from modes that you can you enjoy to the point where like, all right, I'm gonna put like a stream on or a podcast or music and just kind of like kick some ass and have some fun and like not really care.
Yeah.
Like that's what this game kind of is, even if you're going through the story, I feel. Because like there are like you can go talk to the townspeople, but I'm like, oh my God, I could have written better dialogue than this. This is horrible. And it's like 2 fucking models for people. It's like, did they even like? It's like I don't even think they really tried. Like they were like, all right, just do the barest of bare minimum, Two females, 1 male model, go.
That's like the most people I've seen in one place in a Team Ninja game. At least Neo 1 and Neo 2.
Oh man. I would have just done, like, if you cut that out, that wouldn't have changed it. I talked to the townspeople for the first few missions, and I'm like, I can't be bothered with this. This is fucking stupid. Like,
I did one conversation and just didn't do any more.
You just turned so far off that you're just like, yeah.
I mean,
I don't want to talk to you. I'm Jack. I'm gonna go kill Chaos.
Yeah, it's also just the way it's implemented. It's really weird, like a separate menu. And you're in the map screen, then you have to load into Cornelia. It's really...
Yeah, like while you're in like the other side of the world. Like, what the fuck are we doing? It does. Well, you know what it does remind me though? It reminds me of when you're in Final Fantasy 1 and you go up, the dialogue almost reads in your head better than it does verbally. Because those, back in the day with those older games, the dialogue isn't great just from the nature of when it's being made. And, in Cornelia and the like those older Final Fantasies, like you go into towns and you talk to people and they say very generic things, or they have hints about things coming up or things you can do or a secret in the town. And like when you're reading it in your head quickly, it's fine. But when somebody's like verbalizing it, it just sounds even worse. So they are kind of like emulating Final Fantasy 1, and it's like, but is that a good thing? I don't know.
Yeah, it's
like the King's dialogue. Like, what is this? Princess Sarah's dialogue. They're also characters from Final Fantasy 1, and it's just like, okay, I don't know why this girl's so into Jack, but all right. Sure.
Come on, man. I'm into Jack. I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a good point to just talk about the end. What did you think of the timey-wimey aspect of it? Like, kind of like it going all over the place. Like, did you find that all weird, or were you like, oh, this is cool, like I did?
Wait, timey-wimey?
Timey-wimey is like a phrase that people use when like time travel's involved, and it just goes off the rails because of that. Timey-wimey stuff.
Well, I mean, I really liked the ending. Even if I probably didn't really understand fully like what was going on, I still thought it was just really well done. Like, I just think, I mean, okay, you can make fun of the story as much as you want, but I really like the whole, like, at the beginning, Jack is so focused on chaos, and it just goes right in, and you're like, I don't understand what's going on. But, you know, in a sense, Jack doesn't really understand what's going on.
Yeah, none of them do. You find out only Jack is the one really who doesn't know what's going on, and he's on a path. But like, as we get further in the story, characters start questioning things, and they're doing that on purpose. You find out,
yeah.
And Jack is like, "Nah, fuck you, shut up, stop talking about your feelings. Let's go kill some people. Chaos."
Yeah,
and then he himself starts to do the same thing, like right at the end, as you come into a conflict with Astos, and yeah.
Yeah, and I just like that whole shift, and like suddenly, like the tables have turned. Now Jack is the one asking questions, and the intensity mounts up, and then like the ending song. I don't know. I just thought it was very satisfying, I think.
Yeah, the My Way inclusion, for some reason, it worked. I don't know why.
It works so well.
It worked. Yeah, and so like you find out that like I guess Final Fantasy 1's universe is in like this time loop, and the Lufenians are like trying to like control like the forces of light and darkness, and like I don't understand what their goal is necessarily, but they're like, it's kind of like it's their sandbox, and they're on the outside like moving both players around to see what happens.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 11.
Exactly. And Jack is like a bigger pawn, and he's you know, he's like the main pawn. He's like he's kind of like the constant, it seems. And he's done, and you get the impression that as you're going through the game, it's like, okay, like we've been here, like versions of us have been here, people have died here, like the bosses I'm facing are like other versions of Jed and Ash and Neon and Sophia, and it's like, okay, like sure, whatever. And then and you find out that like essentially, like, I don't know if Jack's being tested in a way, but like I feel like that's the point. Like they're testing him to see how much he can handle, and then he has to kill all his friends, and he gets upset.
Just a little bit upset, just a little bit.
Yeah, and he goes off the rails, and he becomes chaos, man. He's just like, I'm gonna fucking kill everyone. And then you go back to the Chaos Shrine, and you go back up, and you find out that like Astos, like, you know, he has this like plan with Astos, and he's sort of like stringing you along because that's what he told him to do. And it's like, oh, we've had this conversation like 3 fucking times already. Like, listen to me. It's very like stereotypical, that kind of story, you know?
Yeah. Time travel.
Exactly.
Time loop stuff.
But in the original Final Fantasy, so let's go to the ending. Jack becomes Garland. Jack Garland. Whoa. Shock.
Whoa.
And he kind of says to Lufenians, fuck your system. Fuck all you guys. I'm gonna be chaos. Like, I'm gonna be this force to kind of like rival you guys and essentially like help warriors, not help. He essentially is putting warriors of light on their path. And he's aware of that, and everyone else is aware of that, so that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And he becomes chaos, or he becomes Garland. Garland in Final Fantasy 1 is an agent of chaos, essentially. He's kind of working for him. And same with the four fiends. And I like how they like everyone, like you weren't a warrior of light, everyone else was, sorta. And they like kind of twisted it because I'm like, there are 5 people here. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like there's 4 warriors of light. That's the prophecy. That's how it is in Final Fantasy 4. Like, why are there 5 people?
Yeah.
And
I think I also wondered about that.
Yeah,
actually.
and you find out that like you're not a warrior of light. The other guys are. They turn into the 4 fiends. And you're, the big bad. And then you find, and at the end you see, you see the 4 warriors of light walking in. The main one is if you type in like warrior of light FF1, you'll see what he looks like. He looks exactly like that. Like they've made an official like character for him. He's literally in their fighting game. He's just called Warrior of Light because no one has names in that game. In the later games, obviously, like they get names or you put in your own name or whatever. So it essentially, this is the origin of Final Fantasy. And just like in Final Fantasy 1, the King of Cornelia sends you to the Chaos of Shrine to fight Garland. You kill Garland, and you go on the rest of your adventure. And then you get to the end of the game, and Garland's there. Garland time travels back in time to fight you at the Chaos Shrine so that you could get to the end of the game in Final Fantasy 1, where you fight Chaos, who's just like a big demon-looking dude.
Yeah.
So that's what that Stranger of Paradise sets up. Jack becoming Garland to fight the Warriors of Light so that they can go on their journey to then kill Chaos at the end. Make sense?
Jeez. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's confusing, and if you've played Final Fantasy 1, you'll be like, oh, like I understood instantaneously. But even Final Fantasy 1, it's interesting. It's like, yeah, they were doing like kind of confusing stuff even in that first game. Like having your main bad guy get killed in the beginning and then you fight him at the end, and it's like, oh no, he time traveled. Chaos sent him back in time. Or forward? You're going back. Wait. You're going forward. No, back. You're going back. Yeah, you're going back in time. You're to the past. Sorry, I got confused. Chaos is sending Garland back in time to, start them on the path. And it's interesting. And I, as a Final Fantasy fan, and I think other Final Fantasy fans will appreciate that. Like, they'll be like, oh yeah, that's cool. But is the game worth all that? If you like the combat, maybe. But I feel like it's just like this game has really like cool points, but all its negatives are like really negative. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, that's
why I just can't get on board with like being like, this is a good game. Like I can't say that confidently.
No, I understand. I mean, there are some very blatant flaws with this, and that's, like I said again, that's the same case with Neo 1. Like there are a lot of blatant flaws with Neo 1 that makes it hard for me. I mean, every time someone asks me about Neo, I'm usually I always say, don't play Neo 1. I mean, I love that game so much, but there are so many problems with it. I feel like this is almost the same case with Stranger in Paradise. Like I love it so much. Dude, I love it so much. But there are, like we've pretty much just spent all this time talking about, there are a lot of glaring issues. Like not even just like taste kind of thing, but like really, really glaring issues. Like
and again, I feel like with the story stuff, it just kind of like the meminess of it works. But like I don't know how to justify any of the other choices they made. Like why did they? Why is everything so like shallow? Why like besides the combat? The combat's the only really deep thing about the game. Like why is everything else so like? I don't want to say underdeveloped, but like, or maybe like just like undercooked. It's just like it feels like it like I think it needed more time to just be a better game. I think the length is fine. I think you're going to get like 20 to 40 hours out of this for most people. And if you're into the post game, you know, obviously plus that. But I don't know. Do you know if this is the first time Square's teamed up with Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo?
I believe so. Yeah. I think I can't think of.
I couldn't see. I mean, like, I don't think this is going to get a sequel. One, it wouldn't even make sense if it did from a story perspective. But like, I'd be interested to see if they do this again.
I mean, I've heard someone wrote in my chat that there'll be more Final Fantasy Origin games. Apparently, they're playing for the first 6.
That's wild. Really?
Yeah.
No way. That can't be true. That's ambitious.
I mean, I also heard someone say that Neo 3 is going to be open world, which I highly doubt. I mean,
I guess with Elden Ring setting a standard, it could be.
I hope not. That's another discussion.
That is another podcast. Yeah, I don't think we need another one. I think this was fine. It was a cool experiment, cool team up between two devs who do two very different things, and I think it worked enough. You know, I don't know if this game is going to sell particularly well, but it reviewed all right. I think it was getting like 7s and 6s, and like that's not necessarily like a bad thing. Like sometimes it's good to have like a somewhat like mediocre game. Like not, you know, we don't have to be playing like The Last of Us 2 with every single game that comes out.
I mean, I guess that's why that's something that really appeals to me about Stranger in Paradise. You know, it's like Frank Sinatra sings, you know, the game does it its own way. And I think if it did it any other way, it wouldn't have worked. But it's just that machismo personality of Jack and just the gameplay and him screaming, saying, "You're dust!" And
I don't give a fuck who you are.
I don't give a fuck who you are. It's just, I mean, yeah, the game has its flaws, but you know, all the perfect imperfections, you know.
Yeah, the charm of the game is like hard not to just laugh at.
It's
I think I think it wants you to laugh at it. I don't think it wants you to take it too seriously.
Yeah, definitely.
It definitely like it doesn't. I'm curious why they went for that route. Like what in the development cycle be like, we should like, you know, like the chaos meme guys, like we should just go in for that. Like I'm curious where that like I couldn't imagine they totally like saw that and be like, let's course correct. Let's make our narrative like different. Like I couldn't imagine the feedback from the first trailer changed the whole game entirely, but you know, maybe it did influence some things.
I don't know. I mean, apparently they changed the scene where he plays the music on his phone.
Yes.
They apparently changed the timing. Yeah. They apparently changed the timing on it, so it like has more comedic timing, which is so random. I don't.
That was such a weird thing because I'm like, that was another weird thing in this game. It's like, why are there like future technology in this like medieval world? This guy literally has an iPod on.
Yeah, I don't know, but
he has a phone. Like, he's listening to Frank Sinatra on his phone. Like, can we talk about this?
Oh yeah, and he hands Princess Sarah his
earbuds.
AirPods.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna play this on the lute. I'm like, what is this, BioShock Infinite, where like we're hearing like music from another dimension and we're gonna like replicate it in our world? Like, what is this?
Yeah, this game is really weird, but I think it's just so bizarre and unique that I think it works, in my opinion. I guess if you're a Team Ninja fan, you'll love this game. I suppose, I think. But if you're a Final Fantasy fan, then I'm not sure. Like you said, I mean,
there's aspects to enjoy from it, from sure. But is it? Yeah, I think you'll like the combat. The combat is hard not to enjoy. Like I said, I think that the ending kind of does pay off the Final Fantasy Origins portion of it. You'll be like, okay, I appreciate that as a fan. Garland isn't the most notable villain by any means. Final Fantasy 1 isn't the most notable Final Fantasy by any means, but It's interesting, or I like the fact that they took a villain like that, a very underdeveloped, underutilized, underloved Final Fantasy villain, and be like, let's just do something with it. Why the fuck not? Because I think that was the premise of it. It's like, let's just take Garland, a Final Fantasy villain who has ultimately absolutely zero story, and let's fuck around with it. Let's see what we can do and work with Team Ninja and see what narrative we can make of this, but also focus on the combat, because that's where they shine.
Also make him look like Eminem with a great sword.
Yeah, that too. I always make fun of when I was about to wrap it up, but I'll just say this. I always make fun of when Ash talks. He's like, what does Ash say all the time? There's one thing. He's like, I like want to mimic him, but I don't want to do it at the same time.
Don't, maybe don't.
But kind of talks like this, like, "Hey Jack, what's going on?" It's just like, I'm like, what is this voice acting with him? He knock him down.
Reel it in, dude. I'm playing Okay, I know we're supposed to wrap this up, but I was playing the first level, and you were getting loot, and then he just goes, "Reel it in, man." And I'm just like, what is this game?
And Jed goes, "Ooh." Ooh.
Can I use that?
Andre, is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap it up that you haven't said already? I also will tell you to promote your stuff, but more so in the podcast stuff.
No, I think we've pretty much I think we're pretty much in agreement is that there is a lot of good things to come you can get out of this game, but it's really hard to look past all the flaws, and they will always be there no matter how much you love this game.
Absolutely. Andre, where can people find you? Weren't ready for it.
I primarily stream on Twitch. Not very often. My schedule is a bit flexible because of uni, but I think that's my primary thing. I want to do more on YouTube. I also have a Twitter, but nothing really happens there. It's more just my personal space, really. So, but yeah, YouTube is Mr. Pungyung, and same as my Twitch. Yeah.
And those links will be in the descriptions as well for people who want to check Andre out. But guys, thank you for watching live at twitch.tv/Delco Network. You can get this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, as well as youtube.com/Delco Network. You can follow us on Facebook. Just search Delco Network. Our Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok handles are at Delco Nerds. You can find all this information at DelcoNerdNetwork.com, where you can join the Discord and talk about Kingdom Hearts 4 and Strangers of Paradise and whatever the else the fuck's going on. The Will Smith slap.
Whoa.
Big conversation there. But guys, again, thanks for watching. Stay nerdy, and we'll see you next time.